Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things.
How the hell is this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how did you know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me, and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage podcast. This is our Wednesday show, and we kind of changed the dynamic of how we are doing these things, especially our Wednesday show. So we're going to be focused more on the human design of our heroes and villains of our time. So I'm really excited about this.
Great title, Jen. It's a great title. The design of the good guys and the bad guys.
Exactly. And my personal view on that right now, I look at everybody through a microscope lens. All of these players on our world stage, we just don't know if they are heroes or villains, but it is really good to know what we're working with, what their design says.
It is hard to tell some of the heroes. Some of them are easy to spot, but the villains are wicked easy to spot.
And I can't wait to see what you start decoding. But before we jump into today's episode, please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. Hit that notification button. Drop a comment down below. Tell us where you are from and where you're viewing this. We've been getting a lot of feedback from the show, and I couldn't be more happier. We keep getting all these alerts that we're getting all these views. So I'm super excited about that. And we recently launched our own clothing line. So get your Conspiracy to Awaken shirts inside of our store.
I want one.
We're getting some, Dan. I'm definitely going to be ordering those for us. So be on the lookout. I'll have it shipped to your house.
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome, hon. To get yours, you're going to go to the tiny URL link down below. It should be scrolling. There's a little button there that you can click that will direct you to our store. Savannah says hi. Thank you, Savannah.
Hey, Savannah.
And we've got that going on. And I think that's about it. Are you ready to dive into today's show?
That's about it. Yes, absolutely. So we have tonight, I'll set it up a little bit. We have Jen Psaki.
Here's chronic.
Hold on. Sorry, didn't mean to hit that.
No,
Go ahead.
all good. Yep. So we have Jen Psaki tonight. I like saying her name. So she was the former White House press secretary who just retired a few days ago, Monday, not this past Monday, but the Monday before. And for about a year and a half, she was the White House liar. And she's really, really good at it. And so we figured I'd start with her. So there's little villains, and then there's bigger villains, and then there's heroes and big heroes. And I'm not sure where she fits in, so maybe we can vote on that.
Can I ask a quick question? Yeah. Because I stay out of the loop. I don't watch the news and all that. But why did she retire real quick?
Oh, well, she's a liar, so what?
Okay.
We can't know. She retired due to money, and because her time was running out. The gig was up on her, and people were really calling her out left and right. And someone delivered her a cushy job, and there's that inside club over there where, between CNN and MSNBC and the big liar news outlets that flood our airwaves, they, you come from the White House, you go there. You're there, you get over there, you go back to the White House. Or politics and those two things are intermerged to small club, and you and I aren't in it. So
exactly. Exactly. Okay, so we'll go ahead. I'll share the screen. What do you want to start with first, the video or the slide?
Let's do the video up to the first pause.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to set this up.
Yeah.
So this is one of my more favorite commentators. I like this guy, Dave Rubin. So he spotted a couple things in Jen Psaki, and he started calling it out. And so here's a few clips from that, plus a few clips I put in between. And where it says pause, it'll be a picture of her. So pause on that picture, because that'll be the face of a liar.
Okay.
Yep.
Misinformation specialist and liar in chief, Jen Psaki, on the Hunter Biden report.
The New York Times has authenticated emails that appear to have come from a laptop abandoned by Hunter Biden in Delaware. The president previously said that the New York Post story about this was a bunch of garbage and that it was a Russian plant. Does he stand by that? That's not it.
I pointed to the Department of Justice and also to Hunter Biden's representatives who doesn't work in the government.
Why does the president think attacks on Asian Americans are increasing in this country? Why does he think that's happening?
Well, he wanted to be very clear because there's an ongoing FBI investigation, right? And he didn't want to attribute motive. There are law enforcement authorities who do that, and it's important to note when the investigation is concluded or not. So that was a bar he was working to respect there. I think there's no question that some of the damaging rhetoric that we saw during the prior administration, blaming, calling COVID, the Wuhan virus or other things.
That's interesting. So if those words could lead to violence, well, then you're not, Jen, you're not going to like this video from MRC TV that I'm going to show you right now.
Concern is growing this morning over an outbreak of a new SARS-like virus in China. At least 6 people have died from the Wuhan coronavirus. The Wuhan coronavirus.
The 34-year-old ophthalmologist diagnosed Saturday with the Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. What more can you tell us about the similarities or differences between SARS and the Wuhan coronavirus?
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus in China.
If you're in a state that has a history of voter suppression, if you want to change your laws to make it harder, you have to ask for support or approval from the Department of Justice.
The face of a liar. Yep. Pause. So according to Jen Psaki, that's the administration's position that we need to ask for the Department of Justice if we're going to change our voter laws in each state. That's not America. She'll say anything. She'll say anything the administration wants her to say. And frankly, I'm no longer, after watching enough of her video, I'm no longer convinced that the administration is telling her what to say. I think she was partly running it. I think the soup was getting too hot and she wanted to get out. I think it was part her brain power running the show.
That would make sense.
Yeah, yep. So and then that whole montage with CNN and all the places talking about the Wuhan coronavirus. That was all early on. And so she was like the past administration calling Chinese people bad and how they're racist because they called it the Wuhan Chinese coronavirus. And then they showed a montage of 100 different people saying Wuhan coronavirus. Mm-hmm. But she gets away with saying it because she can. And then the next clip after this is just play the next hunk.
We know we need to do a better job of reaching young people and making sure they know that they are not immune from the virus. They can get it, especially the Delta variant. It's transmissible. They can get really sick, and that we need to meet them where they are. And we can't be precious from the White House about the mechanisms or the tools we use. So having someone like Olivia Rodrigo here, who's so popular, and you may have noticed this week that your gas prices have gone up. I'm going to talk a little bit about why. A lot of it has to do with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, right.
Pause. Yeah. So, first of all, she was pointing out how, we need to censor people and we don't have to worry about why is it we're doing it because kids can get it too. We all know that's not the case. This is just in the past 4 or 5 months. you know, and there she is just saying it over and over and over again. And she doesn't care. But then they put a nice facelift on her when she goes off to MSNBC, and suddenly the liar in one place gets to be a liar in another, except now she's all Hollywooded up. This is what they do to people. Welcome to the club. Welcome to how you become what you are not.
This may be off topic, but it's something that I'm going to plant a seed that maybe we can look into at a later show on human design, and how if it's easier for them to be hijacked for the MK Ultra mind control program.
Well, totally possible. If they were going to hijack a good person to say a bunch of bullshit all the time, this is a good design to hijack.
Okay.
Wiki good. So look what Hollywood did to her. So all straight red hair, right? All conservative and buttoned up everywhere. And then suddenly, who she is not walked from out of her not self left the White House and brought her not self over to MSNBC. And go ahead and play the clip.
I can't wait to create a space on streaming where we break down the facts, get to the bottom of what's driving the issues, and hopefully have some fun along the way. The Hollywood Reporter reported in April that Psaki was in talks to join MSNBC, though she emphasized at the time that she was abiding by all White House ethics rules. For more on this story and the latest news, go to thr.com. This is the Hollywood Reporter News.
And I figured I would end it on a clip where her and her not self were cut in half. I picked a clip that had a break in her to give her the split face that she deserves, which they all do. So let's it's like look at her there. Suddenly she looks like a movie star, you know.
Yeah, when I was looking at this picture, when I went to go play the video, I was like, it's what mask am I gonna, what persona am I gonna be putting on today?
Right. What mask will we be wearing today? So if you want to get over to her design, we'll see what they hijacked in Jen Psaki.
Yes.
When I say they hijacked, again, I'm still not convinced that they're doing very well with human design. I'm pretty convinced they know some of this information, but I am not at all convinced that they really know what they're doing with it, you know, other than manipulating us on the surface with fear and guilt.
I don't think they know exactly through the human design, but I do, you know, with astrology, I wouldn't tying that in, which I haven't gotten to that point with the astrology and the human design and pairing it, but I would not be surprised if they are not pulling. I feel like our birth certificates, and the reason they want to know all that information is so that they can keep track, because they're
all day long. What is it you told me about astrology?
Oh, JP Morgan Chase said that millionaires don't follow the star, billionaires do. And most of what they do is done on monumental days that follow the planets, their ceremonies, their ritualistic stuff that they do. It's all following the planets.
Gotcha. Well, they're following along, all right. So this design right here. So this gal. So take a look at this. Look what's open right in the center. Right in the center, there's that G center that's open, the white diamond in the center. And there's one gate off of it, which is so susceptible to conditioning. Gate 1. It's all about one's inspired own creative role model being projected out into the world. So if you have a gate 1 in your body graph, you want to be original. You just want to be original. And more than that, you want to put yourself out in the world. You want to take what is you and speak it. It's missing a gate 8. So that's the gate of contribution. So she speaks fast because she's trying to make a contribution. And look, she's got an open root center. So she's under pressure. It's a totally open root center. She doesn't even know what to make of the pressure. I'm surprised. You know, she drinks. I don't know how much she drinks, but when she's done with the day, she drinks. This gal drinks. I don't know how much, but maybe if someone knows her, they can pipe in and say how much. I would guess vodka. It's just, that's a guess. But she's under a great deal of pressure to be something that she's not. She's always in a hurry. And if you notice, her talking pace is always fast. She's always talking quickly.
Yes.
Get it out. I get to that. And she always puts her hand up. And to the next question, they asked her in the clip I showed you about the Hunter Biden laptop. And she just sat there. She sat there. And as soon as it was done, she quickly disposed of that person. It's an ongoing investigation. Please contact the Department of Justice. And she moves on quickly because nobody wants to know what's on that Hunter Biden laptop. If you're at the White House and if you're in the big press media corps, they don't want to know what's on the president's son's laptop, who's made, millions and millions of dollars through deals he had no credibility or way of knowing he knew what to do with it. What's he doing being an oil executive, Hunter Biden? He's getting a job that daddy told him to get and or daddy got for him. And so they used his kid to get to his dad, and it worked. And that's why they had to suppress the story. Look at the face on this woman. She is the face of information suppression. Under pressure to show that she has an identity, anybody can hijack an open G center and let them think that their identity they want her to have is in fact hers. So here comes Jen. Notice she's happy. She's happy to do it. Let me tell you about the Putin price hike. Let me tell you about stuff. Let me talk.
Yes.
So let me talk and tell you about the Putin price hike. She's all excited. She has an identity. She's in a team. This is good for her, according to her, according to who she's not. Did you have a question?
No, Savannah was just chiming in. She said easier to control her. She looks to others to give her a sense of direction.
All day long. And she spoke fondly of the president, and we're friends, and she's friends with everybody. And then they made her look prettier Hollywood style. So she's all excited about that. And meanwhile, she's got a couple kids at home, and who knows how any of that's going.
She's a mom.
Yep. So, and the third open center in her body graph, the open head center. Now that's under pressure. She's in a pressure sandwich to speak. She's under pressure to speak. They picked a perfect victim to hijack if that's what they did. I don't know if that's what
I think at some level everybody in this is hijacked to.
Yep.
To a point.
Yep. She thinks she's not hijackable as far as she's concerned. That's because she's got that big fat ego there.
I was just gonna say that.
Yep. Yeah, I love saying big fat egos because I love a big fat ego. Ultimately, she's not concerned with her own value. She thinks she's perfect. Although she knows she's always on the hunt for the right love and direction. She never speaks about her husband because I don't think there is one. This gal is basically driven to cut through the friction and tell stimulating stories. That's what she's driven to do. She's driven to cut through the friction and externalize stimulating stories. So what does she do it with? She's got the channel of the transmitter. That's 44 to 26. It's really supposed to be the channel of surrender. You surrender to the message that needs to be transmitted to the tribe for the tribe's own good. Do you think she's doing that? No, she's doing that for her team. And she's doing that for Team Elite. Now, there's no way she doesn't know this. There's no way. There's no way she doesn't know this. That's what makes me think she was part of the decision-making board of the Joe Biden handlers out there that are handling Grandpa Joe.
He's got some handlers, all right.
He's got some handlers, all right. Yep, all day long.
ArcSeed said that they'd love to see us guys do Kaylee. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Kaylee McKinnon. Trump's press secretary. Compare those designs.
Is it Trump's press secretary, the one that's running for office, who's a little bit heavy set and has the black hair, straight black hair? Archie. Yep. Chime in if that's who it is. Oh no, that's Kaylee's the blonde girl. I think, is that right? There's one of them is Huckabee, and one of them was that other gal. So I'm thinking he's talking about the blonde gal who's a little spitfire.
You got me. I I watch some of this and then I call bullshit. So, and then I
I
immediately.
call bullshit on everything she says.
Oh, yes.
She'll say whatever.
Yes, the blonde girl, Savannah says.
Okay, thank you, Savannah. So look into her eyes, man. Blank, staring off, waiting for its orders to say what it needs to say. Under pressure in a head center to think about way too many things. She's got a busy head that's constantly under pressure to figure out the confusion. And so what does she do? Channel 1156 on here, which goes from the green ajna center down to the throat. This is a channel of curiosity. This is the channel. Yep. It's a life force in her. So she can always tell a stimulating story. She's perfect for the White House press secretary job because not only can she tell a stimulating story, but this is a design of not only trying to stimulate the other, but having the ideas that settle out her confusion. So as soon as she thinks it's her idea, she's out there spitting it out. And it's a design of stringing together short-term activities, little short-term things. What does the press secretary do? They tell a clip, they tell a clip, they tell a clip, they go home. They come back the next day or 2 days later, they tell a clip, they tell a short story, they tell a short story, they go home. Or they go back to their dungeon where they have to study a bunch of stuff to figure out what to say the next day. But so notice she's aware that she has ideas because it's black. She got a black gate 11, the gate of peace. That is supposed to be the peace when you have your ideas that can come out naturally. Her ideas don't come out naturally. That's why she's always stuttering. That's why she speaks so fast. If they came out naturally, she wouldn't have that blank stare of death on her face right now. So fuck you, Jen, fucking liar. Yeah, the White House liar, like Dave Rubin said. And so
Jen Psaki.
Psaki. So she's got a red gate 4 in her ajna center, and it's unconscious in her. She's always happy with herself when she came up with the right formula of what to say in the moment. You can tell she smiles as soon as it comes out. As soon as she breaks through and has the next little formula to tell in a short-term fashion to keep it stimulating and exciting enough for her and her audience, she spills it out and she thinks she's great for doing that. Talk about being hijacked. So here we have the storyteller who can transmit a message. Perfect hijack. The storyteller whose ego can transmit a message. When? Gate 57, right in the now. So she penetrates the moment to tell the story, and none of the story is her story. This is what happens when your not self moves from wherever you were to the White House press secretary to then now MSNBC. I'm going to watch her on MSNBC and see what kind of bullshit she spews out there just because we did this show, and now I'm curious.
I'm curious now too. I mean, I to be honest, I never really watched any of this because I always thought it was bullshit. Something told me it was, but now that I'm learning about the human design and you're pulling it out, like I'm noticing it. Like I'm witnessing the experiment that we talk about.
Yep.
In real time. And guys, when we talk about witnessing the experiment, that is understanding the human design and actually watching it yourself, witnessing it yourself. And when you understand or you're looking at what we're pulling out and you see it, you're going to be like, oh, wow, okay, that's really going on.
That's how it works, Jen. You got to see it. And while I'm certain these guys have an idea of the knowledge that human design possesses, I'm quite sure they haven't gone through the effort of witnessing their own internal experiment. You can't wake up until you do it for yourself. These guys have all this fuck you money that they don't need to wake up. They can simply pay for it. So, and they paid for her. They paid for her. If we go look at her dowry that she's got behind the scenes, it is far more than what that White House press secretary position paid.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And another reason for her to get out is so she doesn't have to disclose that stuff.
Yep.
She's immune from disclosure. The second she resigned, no disclosure required. So chances are that stuff was all coming. Now, look at the channel of community. It's off of the ego center. So her ego is doubly defined. She's got a gate 40 going to a gate 37 in the solar plex center. So, yeah, the gate 40 off the bottom of that red ego going to the brown solar plex center on the far right. It's all red. It's the channel of community. It's about the higher purpose of organizing your community in the form of planning so that the planning can make sure all the kids are fed and provided for, so that the planning can have friendliness and do the work, the hard work needed to make sure that the community will thrive, that the tribe stays alive. We're an American tribe and we're being divided and trying to be pulled apart. That's why all the pressure to wake up. So she's supposed to be that girl. She's supposed to be, but she's not. She's not even aware of this. It's unconscious in her. This is a perfect design. Hey, let's hijack the unconscious channel of community because everyone will think she's nice. Everyone will think she's friendly. Everyone will think that she's planning for us. This cross that she's on, this right angle cross of planning, is the cross that she's on. It says it down at the bottom, right angle cross of planning, where 9 is the focus on details. So she's got a heavy focus on the details. 16 is the focus that she has on actually coming up with patterns that are smart, that are good for the community, the patterns that make society work. And here she is spewing out the patterns that make Team Elite's society work. They hijacked her pattern spotting. They fucking hijacked her. Totally. And they hijacked her ability to focus quickly on the details. Right off the sacral, the bottom of the sacral, she's got one gate there, gate 9. And that's all about the ability to focus and concentrate. But she's got an open route, so she can't sit still long enough to really do it. That's why a short-term job. So she can tell short-term stories and talk about the community that she wants to support. It always sounds logical coming out of her talking about the children. What about the children? I like saying what about the children too. We all do. So fuck you, Jen. You don't own a patent on what about the frickin' children. We all have children. We all say what about them. So what about the baby formula for the children that you helped engineer to happen, you piece of shit? So they hijacked her channel of community. You know, they hijacked.
Getting fired up now.
Well, yeah. And then now she's got the same channel down below. The last channel she has here, 4 channels here, 59 to 6. This is the channel of mating and intimacy. She's a design to procreate and have children. She's a design of breaking through the aura. She was just as surprised as anybody when she got the job. As soon as she stepped into the aura of the other when they were interviewing her, however that worked out, she broke down their aura, and she literally, that channel of intimacy, that channel of mating, this generated wave, emotional wave from 59 off the right side of her sacral going to gate 6. Right there, yes. Donald Trump has this channel. It's a powerful organizational channel. When you have this, you're helping to empower the organization itself. This is a channel of a much larger transauric aura, transauric being called a WA, W-A. These are organizations of up to 81 people or more. And she's a powerful player in the WA. I have no doubt she was helping to set policy. And if she said it, it became policy. So, hello, Mrs. President, I could have said to her plenty of times, along with probably several other handlers that our fake president has. And it goes right into the gate of conflict. That's what gate 6 is. So 57 is the aura breaker, the sacral energy to break down the barriers to union. So she steps into an aura, she breaks down their barrier to union, and they immediately recognize that she can handle conflict. She will handle the conflict. And you know what she did? She sliced the head off of anyone who asked too many questions she didn't like. I would like to look up Peter Doocy's chart. He was the one White House correspondent for Fox News, in this case, who asked her tough questions. Everyone else asked her medium to softball questions. He would ask her tough questions, and I would watch her get so pissed at him. I would see that source wave of hers, that 51.6. That channel of intimacy is also the channel of cut your head off. Literally, then she would get mad and she would have to hold it back because she's focused on trying to establish a good pattern that sets the pace for her team elite. But that's not what she did. She couldn't chop his head off. She every once in a while would start and then she'd pull herself back. I tend to think, and that guy always sat in the front row. front, first or second row he was. So he was in aura to her enough, yet he withstood her wave. So something tells me he had the same channel, or he was emotionally defined because he could, or he had a big fat ego too, because he could withstand her wave. Or maybe he was a manifester and didn't care. You know, he just cut. He had some special power to cut through her bullshit. Yep, repel her bullshit. So the source wave cut the head off of things, and she cut the head off of every topic that had anything to do with anything called truth, non-censorship, vaccines are bullshit, or any of the stuff that actually was true. She cut the head off of it. And look, half this channel's unconscious. So they hired her to do exactly what she's designed to do. Cut the head off the ideas of anybody, transmit the message that pretends there's a fake community, and tell it to them in a stimulating way, Jen, that cuts through the chaos and the confusion. Tell it to them how we tell you to tell it to them. And that's what she did. I just keynoted all the channels in her body. Yep. So that's what she did. Now
Savannah says we need to do Peter's next.
Who? Oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing Peter because to me, he's one of the good guys. He's an unsung hero. He's a silent hero. He's just one correspondent. Most people don't even know who he is. I don't know how his personal life goes. He might be medium average. He lives a not self life too, unless he's been read for.
If we can pull his information, let's get that together, and then we'll make sure to get that next week.
Maybe, because he doesn't have a big footprint on the globe, Peter Ducey or Dorsey, I forget how you say his last name. But maybe we could do him and Kyla or Kyra, the one that Arkman said to do.
Kayla. I'll write her name down too.
By the way, Arkman, who are you, buddy? I want to know who you are, man. Contact me, will you?
You already know who she is.
She. Oh, yes. Arc girl. Okay. Hi, Arc woman. Nice to know you.
Arc woman.
Arc woman. Let's get you up here. That's too funny. Don't tell me, Jen. I'll guess later. Let's look at her bridging gates. They pick. It's easy. It's easy to hijack someone when they're a split definition. So she's a split definition. Look at you have it. I forget if it's up here. Profile definition. Yep, split definition. Thank you for getting all this info up here. So when you're a split definition, you're forever seeking the bridging gates on the other end. They become a big part of your whole world. You want them. Please give them to me. And what you are is you're not those bridging gates. So one of these bridging gates comes off of her emotional center. Do you see how? So you see all the definition in the center of her body graph, the solar plex sacral, the spleen, and the ego. It's a nice little, 3 channels right there, all connected. So that's one definition. And it's split off from the throat and the ajna. So she's always thinking she's missing. She's always in a crisis. That's what gate 36 is, the gate of crisis, the gate of where the conflict of gate 6 is trying to resolve a crisis of inexperience. And all she wants to do is get to the progress in the throat, gate 35. She wants to get to a form of a completion. Let's get this thing done with. So what does she do? She hurries up through each press conference trying to hurry up. And the only time she slows down is when she has a drink in her hand. So Jen Psaki, I could find plenty of clips of when Jen Psaki is actually being herself. When she has, I would like to know drunk Jen, because drunk Jen's probably a lot of freaking fun. She's drunk Jen probably tells the truth. Drunk Jen probably, I wish a Project Veritas guy would get a hold of her secretly, videotape her while she's lit. So she could be all cock saying, oh, those fuckers, they just told me to say anything. I just said whatever they said because they paid me enough, blah, blah, blah. That's what would come out of her mouth then, because she's being honest.
I wouldn't be surprised if some Project Veritas guys have some information or are working on that. That would be some interesting charts to pull too.
Yeah, they all are going to be interesting here and there. We're at a disadvantage, Jen, because I can't speak to Jen and hear the vocal quality of her voice while I read her chart. So I only get to know the superficial version of what we're seeing here. But the superficial version sucks because it's all not self and it's all just filled with whatever bullshit she needs to say. It's no way to live a life, man. She doesn't do that to her kids. I bet she's a decent mom at home, like in the moments where she's at home being herself. There's moments, probably not all that many, unless she's got some serious time off. But so gate 36 just wants to speak and it can't. So she's always in a crisis when she speaks. You can feel it in her press conferences. So gate of crisis gives her anxiety over new experiences. Yes, it does, Savannah. Thanks for that. Because that's exactly what it is. The new experience is answering and getting to the end of the question without having fallen apart. That's her existential crisis all the time. And this is in a collective definition. So she has to share it, Jennifer. She wants to share this with everybody. Let me share my crisis with you of the conversation and the explanation I'm about to give you in a stimulating way from my big fat ego that's transmitting the message that of course you're going to believe because I'm a community gal and I'm intimate.
Yeah.
You believe all that, don't you? It's in my red hair. I'm Irish. I must be nice. They picked they picked everything. They picked everything. Next bridging.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Did you see Savannah said gate 48 is another bridging gate for her? What is the theme there?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Savannah. I was going to do 57 up to 20, but I'll do that next. So 48. 48 is the gate of depth. And gate 16 is part of her incarnation cross. Notice her sun earth is 9.4 and 16.4. So, yep, right up here. So this is 70% of who she is. She gets super enthusiastic in the moment, trying to identify the details for which she has a stimulating story to tell everybody. That's what gate 16 is doing. And it's searching for depth. So the second the question gets too deep and she doesn't have an answer for it, that's when her eyes are always looking down at her notes to tell her what to say. She was not fluent. She was not fluid. She had notes that she was routinely, with talent, mind you, great talent, she would routinely go back and forth between. In fact, she could almost second guess what that was going to be. So she has to identify with her job. So that's the thing. If you have this incarnation cross and you have all these arrows that are pointing to the left up there on either side of her head center, most of them are pointing to the left. She's got to identify with what is it she does for work. So she identified with putting together all these little cheat sheets that she could go to and look down and pretend like it was casual. But if you look closely, her eyes are always looking down at her cheat sheet. She had like 15 or 20 of them in a book. She would just go back and forth and she would swap them out each day or add little nuggets depending on what the news of the day was. And lo and behold, there she was. Saying whatever her cheat sheet said to say. That's because she didn't have the depth. She was always nervous and feeling self-conscious about not being deep. She's always seeking the depth. At her next job, she's going to pretend she's so deep. She has all this experience. Look at how deep I am. Come to me for all your depth and awareness of what's going to be good for society. She's seeking that, and so she takes a job that lets her try and profess how she's deep. What was the comment?
Oh, nothing. Sheena's sending information of the people that we need. So
God bless you, Sheena. You rock.
Yes, thank you, Sheena.
So it's all about she's got, I would say, the fear of inadequacy, but she's afraid of the fear of inadequacy because it's the gate she doesn't have. She just wants her talents to become so deep, but she's meant to skip across the surface. So what's she going to do? Pretend she's deep. And when's she going to pretend she's deep? In the job they hired her for. They hired her for the quintessential not self job. The last bridging gate bridges her split from the lower definition to the upper definition. Again, when you have a split, all those gates on the other end become the bane of your existence. You think you are not them, and you think you need to be them. So an open head center and an open identity center and an open root center put her under pressure to have her identity prove she is these things. lots of pressure, mental anguish and physical pressure to give her identity a boost, to be deep and solve the conflict right now and do what gate 57 is seeking to do. Look what gate 57 is reaching for. Gate 20 and the throat. Gate 57 off the spleen. It's checkered, black and red, and it goes up to the throat center. But where's gate 20? Gate 20 is the quintessential gate of right now. This girl isn't right now. She's actually, hang on a minute. Let me ponder this and give you something that comes out of my sacral response. And she's emotional. Hang on, let me think about this and do this over time where I can be clear on what it is that I'm telling you. So they hired her to do a job that she is not. And that's how you enslave someone. In fact, people they're dying to do the jobs that they are not. So deep down, she's actually really yeah. She's totally insecure, except she's got an ego, so she can't admit it. She'll never admit that. And most of the gates
did a quote on something similar about that. I can't remember exactly what you said. What a torture. Hold on. I did it today.
What a torture it is to know you're so close and you're only skipping across the surface and you never take the rest of the dive in. What a torture.
Yeah. What a torture to always dabble, but to never dive in.
Yep. So this woman is a design of a dabbler. She should dabble and then dive in once in a while. She'll know when to dive in because her sacral will say, this is good for you. Her spleen will say, this is healthy. Her sacral will give her the yes energy to do the thing. But instead, she ends up in a job that demands right now. She ended up in a job that she is not. In a job that demands right now. And the only gates defined in her throat center that could speak to right now are the gate of enthusiasm, being enthusiastic right now, telling a stimulating story right now, but it's unconscious. She doesn't even know the bullshit that's about to come out of her mouth. She's so excited that when it does, she pats herself on the back and she thinks that's an ego reward. Notice I always say,
goes home and has a drink.
Yep, but then she goes home and has a drink to freaking quiet it down. Because that's who they hired her to be a right now girl, a right now woman. And the specifically gate that she's missing that bridges her split is the gate of right now, where humanity's genetic proclivity to be right now, they call it the Li, where there's nothing after and there's nothing before. And all you're left with is right now. People with a gate 20, they're meant to speak right now. If you have definition to gate 20, you're penetrating the moment right now. You're meant to act now, be now, live now. So one gate she's freaking missing. So they hired her for that. What's this not self-being? They're going to be under pressure to have their identity smile at the pretty camera right now to prove they have depth. And they're just going to want the conflict to get over with. So let's put her up there. She'll make that Peter Ducey guy shut up sometimes. Because she'll be under pressure to try and act out what she's not right now.
She's not right now.
Who are you not, Jen? Who are you not, Jen? You are not right now. That's who you are. Sorry. Wish you didn't have the same name you do, Jennifer.
I know. Savannah says, what gates are in her communication?
In communication? I'm not sure. Communication, there's a lot of gates that would communicate here. Can you, Savannah, reformulate the question for me because I don't know. I would like to point to the last thing two last things of strategic importance. I talked about the arrows.
Okay.
So notice there's one arrow pointing to the right. So she has some rightness in her, thank God for her.
Can you give an explanation of what the right and the left are, the arrows?
Yeah, it's very basic. I can only get to the surface of this rightness. By the way, all of it is great. It's just that you got to live out your design to have it be great, or else it turns against you. Rightness is where you're open and receptive. You're not focused, but you're peripheral. You're not so much the active one, you're the observer. You're not so much the observed, the person who's being observed, you're the observer. and your mind isn't necessarily just on fire with always trying to accumulate the stuff. You're the taker in of things. So this right facing arrow is in her view. The lower right arrow is a person's view. How she views the world is peripherally. And they put her in the not self job of having to view the world as directly each person that's right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
She would that's why she always talks about just go home and have a drink. She mentions this like 5 or 6 times in my studies of trying to find good clips for her. She points that out to people. Just go home and have a drink. Just go home and have a drink. Okay. How many drinks you got, Jen? It's Jen, if you're an alcoholic, I feel for you. You should go to AA. You should come have your design read because you're all fucked up acting out who you're not. And you're part of the murder machine that's going to kill us all. So wake the flock up. So that periphery, she's just peripheral. If you take her out on a cruise and put a few drinks in her and say, hey, Jen, what do you think of the view you see here? She's going to be like, this is wonderful. And her head's going to look all over the place and she'll be taking in the whole view. So every time she goes home, she's taking in the whole view of that White House press corps, and she's taken in all their energy and she's viewed it and through her periphery, and she's literally putting together her cheat sheets and her notes so she can do what the left-facing arrows do, which is strategic. They just want to be strategic. Let's be active, strategic, focused on one thing. You can't focus on one thing, Jen. You got a right-facing view in a bunch of left-facing arrows that's trying to be strategic. So if she had a few drinks and was herself a little bit, she would be like, oh, let me get this and put these papers together. Chances are she put those papers together with a drink or two in her. Or at least put the skeleton and the nuts and bolts of it together to where she realized, oh, this is a good idea. Let me strategically focus on getting that done. But that's not the big daddy in her. The big thing that I would like to point to, I saved for the end. It's this 4-6 profile.
Yeah.
The 4th line is the externalizer. So here she is on the cross of planning. You're supposed to be helping to plan out the things for community that keeps all the systems going in a logical fashion and help identify all of that and get to all the details and the root of all of that. So the 4th line is there to, and that 9-4 and the 16-4 is there to literally be the person who can externalize the message. So they picked a person who will externalize the message. Okay, that's great. The externalizer, the 4th line, the person who's friendly, appears friendly, puts that 4th line smile on their face, pretends they're friendly, all that good stuff. They're trying to basically, they'll be the abdicator, the person who'll sort of step aside a little bit. And she always said it, well, Peter, if you go look at the thing, she would be nice to Peter. Even when she wanted to slice his head off, she would still be nice to him enough. Everyone looks to the 4th line to become influential. She wants nothing more in her life than to have what she externalizes to her network become an opportunity. It's the opportunist to find the opportunity to become influential. That's the 4th line. That's not a bad thing. I have a 4th line in my design. I love finding the opportunities to broadcast something where I can be of some kind of influence to somebody. I also have a gate 20. I like to do it right now. So, okay, there's nothing wrong with that as yourself. Remember, every design is perfect. It's what the fucked up not self being behind it who think they know what's true for themselves does with it. They live out a life of who they are not. So, by the way, look at the wrinkles under her eyes. They're sort of not there yet. That's some serious product going on there. 2 years from now, she's going to have all kind, product in her hair, stuff under her eyes, Botox and everything to keep those wrinkles down, because the way she's burning out her not self in her life, she's going to turn old and gray like all the presidents have.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know, is that Donald Trump's real hair color? He must have turned gray by now. He has his hair colored, right? I don't know if anyone knows.
He's got to. I'm pretty sure they all do at some level.
Yep. So that's the 4th line. Friendliness, the networker, waiting for the right opportunity in the right timing to say the right things. So I had to wait, 12, 13 years before I could finally get on a podcast with you, Jennifer, and say the right things. I had to wait for the right timing. I probably even asked you, Jen, let's make a podcast at one point. Who knows where that went? But sooner or later, I said it to you at the right time, and here we are, right? I didn't
Yes.
hound you. I didn't freaking come after you to say, let's do this over and over. I didn't come up with all the good reasons to try and convince you, did I? We just
No.
were talking, and then we did it. I didn't know.
It just kind of literally, that's how this all developed, guys.
Right. It just started. It wasn't there one moment, and then in a mutative moment, it was. That's called waiting for the right timing. She doesn't wait for the right timing. She's hunting it down like a manifester. She's trying to initiate stuff. She's trying to make it all happen. This is the not self life of a generator, not waiting and surrendering to the inner Buddha so that you can wait and have a response that becomes your truth, like the 5-year-old. My only hope for her is that the children that she has, 3 and 6 at home, that's what she said anyways, that they keep reteaching her what her 5-year-old is supposed to be like. I don't have a lot of hope that that's going to work. She's looking right past all that stuff. 6 line. The 6 line is the role model. They spend the first part of their life as the martyr, bumping into things, trial and error. But as soon as they turn 30, they go up on that roof. They try to become objective. Anybody hunting someone who will want to look objectively at things, they would hunt down this 4-6 profile. I mean, in this case, she filled out her role perfectly for them, not for us. So the reason I saved the 6 line for last, and we're going to end this show on Jen Psaki with it, is because Jen Psaki's 6 line is always going to get called out for one of 2 things. She becomes a living role model of what it is to live out her design as her true authentic self, not. Or she gets called out for what the 6 lines are known for when they act out who they are not. They're known for hypocrisy. Straight up hypocrisy. I'm going to go to that 6 line. What is it? 37.6. Let's see what that says. Recognize it as a value. The need for diversity despite appreciation, which will prefer only casual friends. She only wants it casual. She's the person who will literally, despite what's for the highest and best good, I'm reading the not self of her, will act out that which is fake. It is the hypocrite. And what did she have a job doing? Straight up hypocrisy. Let me say it one way. Yeah.
It's probably why she stepped down.
That's probably why she stepped down. Listen, in some way, shape, or form, even our not self gets it. They're like, something's wrong. I'm living out who I'm not. I don't like it. So in her more innocent moments of her own self, no one is only a not self being. We live them both. And that's why we're always so confused, because we know what we're supposed to be, and then we see what we keep doing.
Yes.
That's the confusion. That's where, we get all screwed up. It's, if we could get to her, she would start to recognize, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Why am I saying things that aren't true? The worst thing a 6 line can do is be that hypocrite, because she doesn't. Is there a man in her life? No. Is there a mister around? No. She's raising those kids alone with a nanny and help and whatever. She's emotional, so people are hunting her down to have sex with her here and there, because the emotions are hot and people like that. So all the open emotion beings are wanting to get with her. So she has whatever she wants in that department. She doesn't have to worry about that. And then at the end of the day, she lives out the life of hypocrisy. The 4-6 can, when they are who they are not, can be the great hypocrite. What do I get? What do I get? What do I get? Oh, let me do something. Oh, let me talk to you. Oh, I'm talking to you, but I'm looking for an opportunity to get what I can get. What can I get? Total hypocrite. I'm not saying all 4-6s are hypocrites. I'm saying if you have a 4-6 profile, please be on the lookout. You keep trying to get stuff in a timing that's not yours, attempting to get the thing that gets you influential and gets your opportunity to become influential. And once you get there, you can easily find yourself doing what you're not. She's not supposed to be. She's supposed to be a role model. Unfortunately, the world will look to her to be a role model because that 4-6 still broadcasts. So there's a bunch of people that think she's a perfect model citizen.
Oh, absolutely. I know that there's some people out there that do think that.
Yep. And that part's not really her fault. You know what I mean? None of this is her fault. But it's still the one she went into. So we categorized her as a villain. She's not at the level of supervillain, but she could get there. She could get there overnight.
She is playing a part in it.
Yep. She's got a powerful design. She could get there overnight. People fall over backwards to help Jen Psaki. That's one of the things that an open G center will do. It invites the other to help them not feel lost. You bump into an open G center person, and the next thing you know, you want to help them. You just want to help them a little bit. If they seem in any kind of distress, you're like, hey, what's wrong? Can I help you out? We think that's our choice. No, that's our design, noticing they have an open G center and they might feel lost. I have a very dear friend with an open G center, and I didn't even know I was doing it at first. And next thing I know, I'm always there. So, hey, let me help you out. And I have another friend who was a friend of that friend. They're no longer such good friends. And that person has a defined G center. And I notice sometimes it's not the same thing. I trust that the defined G center knows where they're going. And I have this innate want, always in a now moment, to help the open G center. So there was no shortage of people to help her move up the ladder with that juicy emotional definition. Always, I don't know what she did. I can't say she slept her way to the top. Maybe she didn't. That's not the point. The point is that's juicy emotional definition that she has would have helped her a great deal get noticed, find out how she wasn't lost, and then her pressure centers would think, oh, I need to do that because I need to be deep right now and solve all this crisis. I'm in a crisis to freaking get to right now. And so they put her in a job that she is not, so she could live out a perfect hypocrisy of everything she is not. Welcome to Jen frickin' Psaki. Jen Psaki.
Excellent job, Dan.
Dan.
Excellent.
Jennifer.
I think you did really good. Real quick, just to wrap this up, Savannah did clarify on that communication. She put what's in her Mercury communication thinking.
Sorry, I should have picked up on that. Okay, yeah.
She has the salesman gate.
Yes. So I see gate 26-2. Well, you're the one with a book. Pull up 26-2. Can she come on?
No, she's on chatting through YouTube.
Gotcha. For everyone who doesn't know, she's at home with kids, and she's one of our faves. We love Savannah, and so thank you, Savannah. So the lessons of history, which the hypocrite hasn't learned. 26-2. Now, remember, the second line is a natural. The second line doesn't know why it's about to communicate. Mercury is the planet of communication. If whatever's in our Mercury that we can count on, that's how we're going to communicate. That will color and influence how we communicate. And the lessons of history. She was born with this. And she's living out herself. It's the power and the ego to mature through experience. So she has matured into a perfect hypocrite through the experience she's gathered. And as who she's not, it's the failure of her own ego to respect the experience. So she's failed to respect all the stuff that she's not, and she's just living it out even more. And she doesn't even know she's doing that. It's a natural. It just shows up in her. So she naturally communicates the ego roar that can say whatever it is they told her to transmit. Basically, they installed her identity for her and put her under pressure to be right in the now, something that she's not. And gate 4 is youthful folly. It's all about coming up with formulas. It's immune. Gate 4 is basically immune from judgment. You can't judge a gate 4 because a gate 4 is just in the mind coming up with different formulas. In other words, how can you judge the formula? You can't yet because it hasn't been spit out. So youthful folly to formalize anything as a potential, and that's in line 5. So her Mercury for line 5. Savannah, I have a feeling you knew this already. It's called seduction, and it's unconscious in her. So they hired her to seduce us all. Literally. And this is a process she learned over time, allowing others to assume responsibility as a shield against potential punishment. So, it's everyone else's fault. It was Donald Trump's fault. Well, in the last administration, I will communicate out to you a seductive message in a youthful way that's stimulating and transmitted to you that pretends it's a community. And that will be a seduction, allowing others to assume responsibility. It was all Donald Trump's fault. Well, Putin's gas hike, it's Putin's gas. Let me seduce you with Putin's price hike. I'll even say Putin's price hike. And I'll lean forward, quick, and be under pressure. And every time she has something that she was actually excited about, she would lean forward and she'd put her hand up and do that thing. And I'm like,
I have the picture with her hand up.
It's like, yeah, Jen, that's what you're doing, all in the name of an enormous not self hypocrisy.
The not self theme.
Yep, that's her theme. 5 would be the potential for cynicism that comes always with having acknowledged the understanding of others, something she doesn't do. She never really acknowledged much about the understanding of others. So she was waffling between this binary of the various ways that she would communicate her seduction, and that communication was in resonance with how she would naturally broadcast and transmit the ego message. She didn't care. She didn't even know, because the seduction was unconscious and the ego was in a second line. Second lines never know shit. They don't know stuff until they're in the middle of it. They never know why they know what they know or don't know at first. They're a natural. They're just waiting to see what's going to happen next so that they can see something nobody else noticed. She would be great at recognizing things nobody else noticed, but they didn't give her that job. They gave her the job of the White House liar.
Which she did really good at.
She did really well. She did.
Great job, Dan.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. I felt animated with that one.
Yeah, that was that was spot on. Savannah said that, all the comments that we've got, I think you pretty much nailed exactly how she's acting out in her not self theme. And that's the key thing, guys, that we're going to really be talking about. It's all these, the heroes, the villain, the name of the show. It's where you're acting and you're not self theme.
Right.
It's not you.
Right. That's exactly right. I always have this hope. I'm a 2-4, so I always resonate to hope. My hope is always that any of these villains will do what the Grinch story taught me at a young age. When I first saw it, I believed it from then on. Anybody can have their heart grow 3 sizes that day. It can happen. I hope it happens here.
Yes.
Because she's powerful person.
We're going to see. We're going to be following Miss Jen Psaki. And her new career. I'm pretty sure Dan's going to be all over that to see how she's going to be continuing to act in her not self theme and what other hypocritical things will be coming out of this woman's mouth until she wakes up to her true design and starts living it.
Well, thank you, future. Let's hope, man. Everyone can pray. Let's send some vibes. Let's put it out into the universe. You just don't know.
Yep. Well, again, that's a lot of us have woken up to how we were acting in our not self themes and are trying to reverse that. So it is possible. But you got something to add, Dan?
Yeah, I need to ask a practical question. These episodes, are they actually saved somewhere else in case YouTube takes us down? Because they have a tendency to burn and delete stuff.
Absolutely.
Repost it someplace and pick up somewhere else?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yay.
We will be working on something to where we have our own platform that is in the works, but we are still take some time to do that. So for right now, what you can do is find us on YouTube. This is available on Spotify as well through Anchor. You can look at the link down below and find all the channels where you can view this. If you have not already, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out that link below. Like I said before at the very beginning of this, we have Clothing now, things for you to wear if you are ready to join the conspiracy to awaken.
I'm an extra large.
You're an extra large. I'm going to get our shirts ordered and everything, Dan, and we will wear them on our next, probably not our next show, but on one of our
Soon
shows.
enough.
So soon enough.
Yep.
With that said, guys, we'll see you on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 Pacific Standard Time. So
A little less R-rated, a little more PG.
yes, that our Sunday shows we're going to be opening up to a more family friendly. That way you can get your kids involved as well, because that's the important thing. Less
F-bombs. Or no,
yeah.
maybe no F-bombs.
We're working on that. I have it's watching what we say. But with that said, excellent show. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Next time.